Slack bot. Here we go.
Yeah, we straight chillin', serial killin', pre-cold villains on the mic, got you reelin'. 5-star rated from the floor to the ceiling. If you catch a 1-star, no time for feelings. Got a demon DJ on the ones and twos, by the name Beelzebub, so don't get confused. So grab a seat by the fire, roast them all over two, and prepare to hear the legend of the straight chillin' crew.
What up, nerds, and welcome to another satanic episode of Straight Chilling, the weekly horror movie review show where you chill and we kill, slice, dice, and chop up yet another horror movie. My name is Bob. I'll be your host for the evening. This is episode 378, recorded Tuesday, July 5th, 2022, also known as the first day of spooky season. Tonight, we are kicking it off, talking about Stranger Things 4. Before we get into it, let me introduce everyone else on the show. First up, calling in from Washington, D.C., we got our boy Randu. What's up? Randu!
How do, buddy? How's it going?
I do well, and a happy spooky season to you, sir.
I know it's we finally got through, that random day yesterday, and can start thinking about spooky season in earnest.
Yeah, time to buy all your pumpkins and get to carving.
Pumpkins.
Yes, sir.
Thank
We're doing it.
You. Oh, it feels good. It feels right.
Feels good.
Last but not least, calling in from South Korea, we got our boy Soju. What's up, man?
Oh, what up? It's your boy running up that hill, Stains.
There's not bush stains? Bush seems obvious. I don't know. Maybe a little too crass.
Yeah, come on. We gotta stay relevant here.
Come on. Come on.
What am I, an amateur?
Yes.
No.
Yeah,
we all are.
I am so excited for spooky season. Let it start.
Holla holla.
Time for Halloween. Here we go. It's time.
I never really heard that Kate Bush song before, to be honest. That was not one that I recognized. Yeah.
I knew it only as a reference in a Hold Steady song for years. And when I saw that was on, listed when it started playing in this movie or in the show, and it listed Kate Bush running up the hill, I was like, oh, I finally get to hear this fucking song. I've been hearing about via Craig Finn for years.
Finally.
Before
we get
not disappointed. Yeah. Oh, sorry, go ahead.
Yeah, it's a banger. I mean, it's number one on all the fucking charts. She's getting paid out the ass, I'm sure.
Good for her.
Good for her.
Maybe one day we'll stumble upon some kind of crazy success like that. We'll be 70 and all of a sudden we'll be getting paid.
All those terrible raps that we did while inebriated will suddenly
mostly
become
from
hot
the
commodities.
podcast. It's really what it's referencing.
The podcasts don't make money to begin with, bro.
Impossible. Let's tackle some housekeeping real quick before we get in the main event. Our July poll pick has officially closed, and the winner is Lake Placid.
Whoa, fuck you, John
Betty
Goodman.
My girl Betty. So we'll be talking about that very soon. That, of course, means we got our August poll pick currently posted on our Patreon website. If you support us at the $5 level or above, you get the chance to vote on a movie we're talking about this August. The theme for August is Back to School, Back to School. And the three movies to vote between are Raw, Cherry Falls, and The Faculty.
Bobby, I sing that every week. How those numbers looking? The theme has to stay with the tune. How the numbers looking in going into spooky season?
The Faculty is on top. Raw is in second place, and Cherry Falls is in last.
People want to see that sweet Jake Gyllenhaal haircut.
Jake
No, it's not Jake Gyllenhaal.
What?
It's Jason. Well, Hartnett. What's that?
Oh,
dude's
Jason
name?
Oh God!
Oh God! It's Kevin Bacon all over again.
Oh, how the
God.
mighty have fallen.
No, what's that kid's name from H2O?
I
Yeah,
believe
Josh
it's
Hartnett.
Devin Sawa.
Josh Hartnett.
Josh.
Jeez, yeah.
And Elijah Boner is in it.
Oh, I didn't know that.
Yeah. Yeah.
I've never seen The
What?
Faculty.
I did not understand what you meant. I just got there. What the fuck?
We are killing it.
Man.
Pull it into the station.
What are we, amateurs?
Kevin
Still?
Bacon.
We don't know anybody's name.
No.
So get your votes in before the end of July. We'll see what we're talking about this August. In other Patreon news, we're dropping a brand new mini cast this Friday over on Patreon. If you support us at the $10 level or above, you get access to a whole back catalog of Patreon exclusive episodes. This latest mini cast features myself talking about a movie that just dropped about a month ago, I believe. It's called Dash Cam. And you can get that anywhere you rent shit online. This is the Blumhouse joint.
I rent to own my shit. Thank you.
Oh, well, I'm pretty sure you can buy it too, but I was just limiting it to rentals. The director of Host, which was that hour-long found footage movie that hit Shudder last fall, and everybody really loved. This is his feature-length debut. So check out Dash Cam and tune into Patreon for my thoughts on it.
I heard some not so good things about that.
I might say some not so good things about it.
Oh, wow.
Is it on
We'll
Shudder?
see.
She's a fancy flapjack.
It is not on Shudder. It
Oh,
wouldn't
okay.
surprise me if it eventually wound up there, but I think Blumhouse probably wanted to recoup as much money as they could first and foremost.
I gotcha.
Yeah.
Okay.
So yeah, keep your eyes out for that this Friday. What else we got? Brand new episode of Let's Get Physical Media just dropped over the weekend. Mikey and I recorded a bonus episode, and it was him and I recording a commentary for Sleepaway Camp.
Whoa.
Whoa.
Classic.
A classic.
Holy moly. Holy cow.
We also devised a drinking game that we play along with the commentary, and the rules are in there, so you can watch and listen and play along if you want to.
Wasn't that nice of me?
But Bob, summer season's over. It's time for spooky season. You have to
I know.
wait till
Well-
next summer.
Time to put away your childish beach balls and sunscreen that won't absorb into your skin for some reason.
Time to
some
put it
reason.
away.
Put it away. Start
Yeah,
slathering on the pumpkin juice.
you can get that at Let's Get Physical Media. You can find that anywhere you get your podcasts. The last bit of news, gentlemen. This is an announcement. We have not mentioned this yet.
It's a
So
big one.
It's a big one. If you happen to read Fangoria magazine, we are going to have an ad in the most recent issue. That's their July/August magazine coming out.
Oh, yeah.
It's got The Weeknd on the cover. You will see our ad in there. if you wanna
Famous
pick it up.
horror personality, The Weeknd.
The Weeknd.
Famous for all of his horror doings in the
Yeah.
horror space.
Didn't you guys see the Super Bowl? Come on.
No. No, I did not.
You didn't?
No.
What?
That's on you, bro.
That's on you, Randy. Just because you're not familiar with the weekend spooky doings doesn't mean they don't happen.
Oh, I'm familiar. I've
Oh.
seen Fangoria magazine.
So what's happening with this magazine?
We have an ad in it for our podcast.
What? Oh my God.
Yeah. Randy designed a really baller half-page ad that promotes the show. I don't want to describe it because it's hopefully funny. So I don't know. We'll find out when
It's
people
sexual
read
and violent.
Please laugh.
it. Dear God, please laugh.
Please buy this and laugh, please.
Please. Oh God. Yeah, you can get it on their website, and Barnes and Nobles, I believe, also carries Fangoria, and I think like random comic book shops also have it. But you might want to check in with them before driving out there to pick it up if you want one.
I'm gonna be on the hunt out here in Seoul. I got to get me that straight chilling history right there.
Yeah, gotta get you one. I don't know, maybe have us autograph it because it'll be worth money one day. Probably.
Mail it all the way to
wow.
Seoul. And I'll
You're really filling out the dream board. I see.
Well, you know, you gotta
have to visualize, Bob.
Your
dream board.
Yeah. Yeah.
Whatever, same thing.
You got to collage and put it on your wall, and then that's how you make it happen.
That is how it happens.
What?
If you collage it, it becomes real. That's what
come.
we know. That's just science.
If you collage it, we all come. That's all we got for the housekeeping.
This house is clean.
All right, let's get into the main event. We're talking about Stranger Things 4, and we're kicking it off with the back of the box.
What's on the back of the box?
Rob, do you have this sweet VHS style box that I'm sure has been released for $600,000?
Oh, it's not gonna be released till Christmas. Are you kidding? Black Friday's when that's coming out.
Okay.
No, yeah, this is definitely on Netflix. This is the latest season of Stranger Things. For some reason, they only put out season 1 and 2 physically. They didn't do 3, and I assume they're not going to do 4 if they didn't do 3.
Okay.
But yeah, this is Stranger Things 4, created by the Duffer Brothers. It was largely season 4 is largely written and directed by Matt and Ross Duffer. Stars Millie Bobby Brown, Finn Wolfhard, Winona Ryder, David Harbour, just a ton of actors and actresses that I'm not going to read all of their names. The very brief plot synopsis brought to you by myself is as follows. Now split between Russia, California, and Indiana, the gang fights a brand new evil from every angle. New release.
That's not creepy.
Yeah, I guess it is kind of creepy. New release, first time watch for all of us. Gentlemen, would you recommend people check out Stranger Things 4? Randy, why don't you kick us off?
I don't even know how to answer that question. Like,
yeah, it's
I
hard.
feel like if you have enough interest, you're already watching it. Yeah, if you've seen Stranger Things before and you've seen 3 seasons worth and you feel like you're up for another round, sure. Yes. If you somehow saw 3, like, I don't know, like saw 3 seasons and are still on the fence about 4, I don't, it kind of depends on what you don't like about the other ones. So I guess, how do I answer this?
A baffled Randy indeed.
I had fun. I'll put it that way.
Okay. That sounds good. Juice, what about you?
Yeah, I mean, this is a pretty underground thing, and I think you should just skip seasons 1, 2, and 3 and just hop right into this one. You know, that's what you need to do.
Smart. I agree with that.
These people are confusing.
Yeah, Bob, would you recommend people check out season 4 of Stranger Things?
Yeah, you know, a project is very underground when you can buy a frozen pizza at Publix with the logo on it.
Oh,
that's how you know.
Yeah.
Lord.
No,
And
nobody's heard
also
of it.
get a pizza from Domino's with the logo on it at the same
Oh
time.
my Lord.
All
Domino's
the
and
pizza.
Walmart.
America's 2 genders.
I would recommend people check this out. Generally speaking, I would say if you saw season 3 and disliked it, this is probably not going to correct that at all. It's also just like a massive undertaking because it's like literally 15 hours of viewing. So it's just a lot to tackle. But you know, almost everybody has access to Netflix one way or the other. So if you enjoyed what you've seen before, I'd say yeah, throw it on. It's a good time. Moderate recommendation from the Straight Chilling crew, I guess.
Not ominous at all.
Not at all. We are going to spoil the entirety of the show, and this is your warning.
Spoiler warning.
Dear God, Bob, did you try to write a plot synopsis for this?
I haven't.
Oh
You
God!
Poor
Skip
sad son of a
skip to the
bitch.
end. never, never have
Skip to the
I
end.
wanted you to skip to the end more than I do now.
I
Do it,
tried
dog.
my best to condense this, and this, to be honest, this probably isn't my longest synopsis.
That was
somehow
the
I
bean,
know that that's true.
I assume.
the beat. Yeah.
It's so rich and deep.
This is definitely like a high level
Rich.
sort of overview of the 15 hours of viewing, but
Here
it
we
gets
go.
to the primary plot points. So yeah, here we go. It starts off with a flashback to 1979. It shows little 11 covered in blood in the Hawkins lab, surrounded by corpses. We then jump back to present day, which is 1986, and we see Will, Jonathan, Joyce, and 11 all living in California. Mike goes to visit them over spring break. Joyce receives a package from Russia saying Hopper is still alive. Murray then helps her find him. Back in Hawkins, Dustin, Lucas, and Erica join a D&D group called Hellfire Club, and their dungeon master is a high school metalhead named Eddie. Brutal murders begin happening around town, and the locals blame D&D and the Hellfire Club, claiming that Eddie is a Satanist. Eddie hides, and the gang tries to protect him. 11, back in California, has lost her powers, and Sam Owens shows up, says he can help her get them back. We find out Papa is still alive, and they use a top secret underground bunker with a deprivation tank to get her powers back by forcing 11 to relive some of her past traumas. Joyce and Murray go to Russia and break Hopper out of the prison he's being held in. Back in Hawkins, Nancy and Robin interview Victor Creel, whose family died back in the 50s in the exact same gruesome fashion that the kids in Hawkins are dying as today. He was blamed for their murders, but it turns out his family were the first to die at the hands of the new big bad by the name of Vecna. As 11 is forced to relive past experiences, we see Vecna was Victor Creel's son, Henry, who had telekinetic powers and killed his own family. Yeah, he was then adopted. Not at all. He was then adopted by Papa, who tried to recreate his powers. Henry Creel turns out to be the number one. And he kills all of the other numbered children back in 1979, which is how the story opens. Creepy. And 11 ends up blasting him into the Upside Down, creating Vecna and opening the first gate. In present day, Vecna has killed Chrissy the cheerleader, Fred the assistant paper editor, Patrick the jock, and attempts to kill Max, but the gang saves her with the absolute jam, running up that hill by Kate Bush.
Not ominous at all.
Oh my God.
With every murder, a new gate to the Upside Down opens. The gang in Hawkins deduce a plan to kill Vecna using Max as bait. The military go after 11 in California. She escapes and is picked up by Will, Jonathan, and Argyle, the new friend who's got the pizza delivery van. The military... I just read They go to a
I am
Superboy
in
pizza.
torture right now. I have nothing to fight back against these things.
They go to a Superboy Pizza and put together a sensory deprivation tank so 11 can help Max from a distance. In Russia, Hopper and Joyce and Jim decide to break back into the prison they spent all season trying to get Jim out of, to kill some demogorgons and particles the Russians have. In Hawkins, Jason the jock intervenes with the gang's plan, and Max dies, causing a fourth gate to open, which is the magic number. The four gates connect, splitting Hawkins wide open, allowing the Upside Down to spill into our universe. 11
Not ominous at all.
11 gets a pep talk from Mike and blasts Vecna's ass and is able to start Max's heart again. 2 days later, Max is in the hospital alive but unresponsive. Eddie has now died.
That's not creepy.
And Hopper, Joyce, Murray, Mike, 11, Jonathan, Will, Dustin, and Lucas are all reunited at Hopper's old cabin. Will says Vecna is still alive. The gang looks out over Hawkins, and the Upside Down particles are everywhere. The trees and plants are all dying, and the sky is filled with a big ominous cloud.
Not ominous at all.
Yeah, that's not creepy.
Not ominous at
Oh
all.
my God, Ray.
That's not creepy.
I'm recreating
my
the feeling of watching the show.
I mean, yeah, the bouncing back and forth from like these three like three storylines. I don't know that I call all three of them main, but they're
Okay.
The gang is split in thirds.
At the end, they're split in thirds. At the end, they're split in thirds. Before that, there's more pieces than that. because you follow Eddie separately, you follow Max separately, you follow Joyce separately, you follow.
But they're like on the map in basically three.
Three map wise, and eventually they consolidate into three pieces.
Except for the detour to Utah. God damn.
Oh,
which was so unnecessary. I mean,
I
think
Bob, 2/3 of this show are unnecessary.
I was gonna say that's good. We're probably gonna repeat that a lot. There's definitely a lot of fluff and a lot of unnecessary stuff in here. I think like obviously Hawkins is the main storyline, and like that's where the majority of the shit goes down. Russia is like wildly unnecessary, entirely unnecessary, I would say. Entirely. It affects nothing. And California is really only necessary because like 11 goes there and like we have to have 11 to defeat Vecna. So she could have just stayed in Hawkins.
You're in 4 different places because then you're in the lab too.
Yeah, they go to Arizona. It's like the same party that's kind of on the West Coast.
No, I mean, not really, because you mostly spend a lot of time with just 11 and the lab crew for a long time.
English.
Yeah,
we ain't scientists.
Dude, they put a lot of miles on that fucking delivery van.
Dude,
Damn.
I am not sure how that is even possible.
It's a lot of gas money. Nobody has a job.
Well, I don't know, that dude makes pizzas. You know,
well, that guy does. I wouldn't drive y'all's asses around the whole country with my pizza money.
Well,
not after being shot at by being called over to be shot at by federal agents. I would probably call it quits at that point.
Oh my lord.
Yeah.
I don't even know these fucking guys.
There's so much to talk about. I don't know, maybe we should start with the invention of the new big bad Vecna and like how he comes to be and what we think of him.
So one thing.
Go ahead.
Well, I was gonna say one thing that kind of bothers me is going back to the old seasons. It's really smart to use the idea of D&D initially to explain these kids trying to understand this demigorgon monster that you can't understand, and that's charming and that's clever. Okay, when you do that every time and there's just this character that perfectly explains your big bad, when you are creating a big bad for the show based off a D&D character so that you can explain it using a D&D character, that's like eye rolly to me.
I fully agree, and actually I had forgotten that, but yeah, that's like doing that with the Demogorgon. That made sense because they were children and they needed a frame of reference.
Yeah,
but it's pretty strange. It strains my belief muscles to believe that in every season there's a new monster that happens to correlate almost perfectly to the big bad of their D&D campaign at the same time. It's just like it feels try hardy, and that's there's a lot there. It feels manufactured, and that's going to be my big complaint with the whole series, really. But really, this season, as much as any season past the first one, really feels more manufactured than the last to me.
It's definitely like pulling from D&D, which I don't know really hardly anything about. I don't care that they just like grab a name out of D&D and like apply that to this person. It's weird. I mean, he's got 3 names. Like, we know who he really is and where he came from, which he's got a lot of backstory. I'm sure that doesn't line up with the character of Vecna and D&D. So, like, I feel like they're just using what some sort of like common lingo amongst themselves to very quickly apply to this character, because there is a full backstory.
But it also is always the one that they happen to be battling in their game.
And also the powers happen to match. They're able to not know anything about this character, but explain them completely through a D&D's character's abilities.
It just happens to be one that they're fighting / know about.
I don't. It's like desperate to recapture that initial season's feeling.
Absolutely, that's what they've been trying to do since season, because it was supposed to be a one-off, and that's really like the root of the issue here. And like I think, I don't know, man, we've covered all previous 3 seasons, and I think we've been like relatively positive to very positive, I would say, on them. For me, this season feels the most like it's spinning its wheels, and like they're really just grabbing everything they can seemingly think of and like cramming it in and feel like trying to make it this big, massive, almost like summer blockbuster of a TV show, which is like kind of cool that it's an event. Like, I don't hate the idea of that, but it just gets so far away from the first season and the second season, even the third season, which was bigger. But
the first season was an event. I mean, and that it was an event that was took people by surprise, and there's something to that. I don't want to spend too much time thinking about the other seasons so much because we just don't have the time. But to me, like after recording the season 2 episode that we did, I know I scored that pretty high and I felt pretty good about it at the time. And then like within weeks, I started forgetting like major things about the show. And like looking back, like I really don't have a lot of memory or like I don't have a lot of fondness towards that second season. And the third season, I actively pretty much disliked. So for me, this season actually kind of was a return to form. And I feel like a lot of people are feeling that way, but I could be wrong. It's still feels manufactured. I still have a lot of quibbles with it, but overall, like this, it feels like they've gotten back to the mystery horror element, and with the exception of the goddamn Russia side plot, they have gotten back to it just being like a sci-fi thriller instead of also a political thriller at the same time. I want to talk about that, and because that is my biggest complaint. And I feel like, Bob, it seems like it is yours too, is the very nature of keeping Hopper around is just like, it's just I loved Hopper as a character. In all the seasons, he was probably one of my favorite characters for all of them. And in this one, he really he should not be here. It undercuts everything they set up. And on top of that, they don't have anything valuable for him to do. At the end, they have to make up a reason why him doing what he's doing in Russia counts for anything.
It doesn't really.
It really doesn't seem like it does.
Made up reason doesn't.
I know. Let me pitch you guys. I was thinking about this. Oh, sorry, Bob. I'll come back to it.
I was just going to say, I was definitely not on board with keeping Hopper alive. They gave him like a really beautiful send-off, and I was like, it sucks that he's gone because he's a great character, but they did it in the right way, and they bring him back in season 4, and I was willing to roll with it and be like, well, if they can justify bringing him back because he really contributes majorly to the plot or affects something in a major way, cool. No big deal. I love the character anyway, so I like watching him on screen, but he just doesn't do dick. It really doesn't matter at all, and it's a waste of 4 hours of our time.
Dude, I know it's already a bloated show, right? This season, and they're gonna tack on a much more. And I know that people are gonna argue that that frees him up for season 5, and maybe it'll be worth it in season 5. And I just feel like the time I've sunk into making him a viable member of the crew again is not worth it. And it just more than that just completely undercuts itself from previous seasons.
Also, a lot of what this season does hurts the story and consistency of the other seasons. So one thing I did, I went back and listened to our episodes on season 2 and 3 because it has been some time. And I wanted to get our thoughts at the time coming fresh off those shows. And one of the big things we had with season 3 is we were like, why are the Russians in Hawkins building a portal in Hawkins? And they explain it a little bit in the show, or so we referenced in our episode, of them saying Hawkins is the only place where this happens. It's the only place we can open a portal. We still don't know why they're opening a portal, but it at least explains why they're doing it in Hawkins, because that's the only place. How do they have a smoke monster and a lab full of demigorgons in Russia? How do they have those?
That's a great question, man.
brought them back somehow. I don't know.
It's because they brought in the cartoon Russians in season 3, and I have to justify that decision with a whole season-long arc that undercuts the much stronger decision of having Hopper die a heroic death. Let me pitch you guys this, because I was thinking about this earlier. I was like, this is alternate universe Stranger Things season 4, where they keep Hopper dead, right? Okay, so you have this situation where, okay, you need something for Joyce to do. You need something for all these characters to do or whatever. They're in California. Are we going to get to see Brett Gelman or Murray or whatever? Are we going to get to see that? You can accomplish all of this with a simple change. Just have Joyce go along with the kids on the road trip, the escape from the the scary like fringe or whatever, like a paramilitary crew or whatever, have them all escape together and go to Murray for help instead of Dustin's girlfriend, the off-screen character primarily, and have this whole horrible, not funny Utah segment that just, God, was just a bloat. Have that happen and then get everybody together in Hawkins. Like, or have them go to Nina, I guess, the Nina Project. Like, you can cut this thing out in an instant, and that saves so many hours of people's lives, and maybe gives a little bit of extra room for, like, you could have Joyce realize that her sons aren't doing so well while she's been grieving for Hopper, and she has to reconnect with her sons in this fucking pizza van over this terrifying trip. There's an arc there. There's not an arc, man, in bringing Hopper back. It actually actively disrupts the arcs of previous seasons, like Justin said.
Well, that's also going to lead into, I think, the evidence of crumbling under your own weight, in a sense, where this is going to be separated from previous seasons, especially the first two, where this has become such a big thing. And some of these things literally feel written because maybe schedules are conflicting. You have to keep these people. And one thing that they've been doing maybe to fight against that, or as like kind of a contingency plan, is, I said this in season 2, and definitely hammered it in season 3, of each time they have to introduce new characters. And each time as the party gets bigger and bigger, characters feel much more thin because you're not spending as much time with them, and you have to give people something to do, and you make them so marketable and lovable that you have to bring them back. And so by time now we are in season 4, you have so many people that aren't doing anything, that actually have no real character development, that are there to deliver funny lines, or there to be these caricatures of people from the 80s, that the characters that you're supposed to have been following from season 1 are doing nothing. They like
afterthoughts.
Like
Jonathan,
Robin should be Jonathan. Erica should be Will. You know, all of these extra people that are in the good story, the good party, should be the characters we give a shit about. But they bloated
keep elevating
so
characters
much
at the expense of others.
Yeah.
Bob, you were saying?
I just wanted to jump in here because we have like a little clip of an interview with Millie Bobby Brown that I think kind of sums up what we're getting at here. She was on a show called The Wrap. It's where this little sound clip comes from. It's like 30 seconds or whatever. I just found it interesting because I think it gets to the root of what we're talking about here. Do you mind playing that, Randy?
Oh no, it's way too big. Last night, we couldn't even take one group picture because there was like 50 of us. I was like, you need to start killing people off.
They just need to have one massacre scene where half the cast dies.
Huge massacre scene. No, that's what I'm saying. It's like, this is ridiculous. And also the Duffer Brothers are two sensitive Sallys that don't want to kill anyone off. We need to be Game of Thrones. We need to have the mindset of Game of Thrones.
And just kill like a main character.
I know, kill me off.
Twist.
They tried killing David off. They brought him back.
That's true.
Oh, she's a fancy flapjack.
Yes, she is. Damn.
I mean, absolutely. Kill people. Well, okay, so here's where it comes from is, while there's good things in this season, it has never felt more like a money-making machine. And where I have the biggest beef is where I waited an extra month or something to get this finale that does not fucking end. I can't tell you how goddamn pissed I was when I finished those 2 episodes that are 4 hours long. I was like, you motherfuckers.
You know, you said you alluded to that. You alluded to that, and I actually thought it was going to be way worse than it was. There was this moment towards the end of the last episode where it, like, the fight with Vecna is still going on. Like I forget exactly what moment it was, but there was this big moment, and they had a black cut to black moment, and I thought, oh my god, if this is the end of the episode, then me and Justin are going to be just screaming for 2 hours. But fortunately, it wasn't quite. I don't think it was like I understand what you're saying, and I agree. Like I don't want to see some. I really don't want it. I didn't want a season 4 really. I'm pleased that it was better than I anticipated, but like it's, you know, to me, I really have to actively not think very hard to enjoy this, which is something that you can do. Like there's something to be said about something that is just pure entertainment or whatever, and I can get behind it to some extent, except that it also feels kind of manufactured, so some of the joy is just sapped out of it for me, and a lot of that comes from the like endless longevity of the thing. It just needs, like, the sprawl of it that we already talked about, and then like the absolute length of everything. They didn't need to go to fucking Russia. They didn't need to undercut Hopper. They didn't need to do all those things, and like, it's just too much, man.
I think we do need to touch on some positives because we're almost halfway through here and we haven't done that at all.
Wow. Okay.
It's so there's
tough to condense.
I want to get back to Vecna a little bit. I think Vecna is a cool big bad that sort of like does eventually reunite everybody. Unfortunately, it just takes like 15 hours to reunite everybody. But I think season 5 is going to have the whole gang back together again, actually fighting the one big bad, which is really what the show needs to be anyways. It's what it started as. I think like the creation of Vecna was interesting, and how he is tied directly to 11. If it weren't for her, he wouldn't be. And I like the fact that it seems as though they took a lot of inspiration from Freddy Krueger to create him with like his voice and his demeanor. The fact that we actually have Robert Englund in this season, and even like the big creepy house with like the jingly clock music. It just has this like very Nightmare on Elm Street vibe going for it.
I've always been a creeper.
I dig it. I dig Vecna generally. I think like, you know, it is a practical design and they put a lot of love into like making that character up. I don't know. How does Becca Lane for y'all? Is that a positive for you guys?
I'm a little bit split on him, but largely positive. Yeah. I think that like for my taste, like I always groan a little bit when you have the big bad that is inherently tied to your hero's origin story. It's just, it's very paint by numbers to me, and they didn't have that before. Before it was like just a mishmash of mysteries, and you had this girl that just could help them because she just happened to be, you know, like the right place. Like there's no happenstance anymore, and that's when things start to feel extra manufactured for me with stuff. And it can work in a 2-hour movie or even a trilogy series. Like Star Wars did this, but like every movie since Star Wars has like that's tried to capture this level of market has played the same numbers. And Stranger Things 1 didn't do that as much. And then over the time, they've just more and more gone to that well. And I just don't like that part of it. But as a character, as a design, I think he's pretty good. I was convinced that was I can't think of his name. The Skarsgård that was from It. I thought that was that actor. I thought that was him at first. They look a lot like the scowl is very similar.
Yeah, definitely similar.
So the introduction, or like I guess elements surrounding Vecna, again, I think go back and hurt old stories. And I hated this scene of him walking through the upside down when it's nothing, because it alludes that then he created an upside down Hawkins. How are you gonna create that motherfucker's guitar? Like, I don't like that. I like the mystery element of there's just this dark alternate universe that has all of our shit. Not that some dude's walking around a rocky wasteland collecting demogorgons and making people's houses.
I did not
that's
get
dumb.
that from it at all, man. I thought he got blasted into the upside down, like it was already there.
But it was a separate universe. He explicitly says that there is nothing but beauty and blah blah blah. And there's no.
I guess I forgot.
There's a whole scene where he's walking through a rocky wasteland. It's like when he sees the mind flayer, when he starts to like collect the mind flayer.
I remember that, but that doesn't mean that nothing exists anywhere. You know, it's like the whole world,
I mean,
it's just flipped upside down.
I guess that's up for interpretation, but I kind of edge towards what Juice was saying. What bothers me about that though is that like I was pretty okay with him being like a human with powers who was cast out into this alternate universe and who got there and like aligned himself with the ultimate villain of the Mind Flayer, this unknowable, ununderstandable creature. Yeah. Right. But instead they go and make him superior to the Mind Flayer and make basically even the color of the upside down changes from orange to red on the basis of him being just the bad guy. It's like, I don't know, suddenly we have a Ganondorf in this fucking thing. And I'm not like to me it's like over-explaining just as a process of needing more material to make money.
Yeah, I agree with that point. Is there something that you guys did enjoy you'd like to bring up?
Yeah, I do.
Yeah. I did like Vecna from like a visual standpoint, and like his performance was great. Like,
I like the horror element that he brought. So this one was a lot more brutal. You know, the kids being possessed in a sense, and their bodies twisting, and then being their eyes like busting out and shit. That was really fucked up. Especially for a kid show. Might be a little too fucked up, honestly, for a kid show, because a lot of people are posting on Slack, oh, my kids are loving this, and I'm like, man, I mean, people's bodies twisting around and shit, their eyes blowing out. That might
a kid
be
makes his own mother's eyes pop.
Yeah, that might be a little too much for 11-year-old. I mean, I'm not trying to clutch my pearls over here, but
I mean, if you're 11-year-old, a little Sally or whatever.
I don't know. 11.
Sensitive Sally.
Duffer Brothers. Yeah, that's what it was. Yeah.
So sensitive Sally.
Never heard that before.
We're not British. Come on.
Yeah, that's not creepy.
Randy can be sometimes.
One thing I will say I really like. I was listening back to season 3 episode, and we were saying like, man, they just didn't give Lucas anything to do. I thought like the kids that they included in Hawkins, they gave them such good story arcs.
For sure.
Lucas with his
killed it,
rejecting his friends initially. I actually thought it would have been a little bit better if he actually didn't know Eddie, because eventually he starts to say like, no, Eddie's like a good guy. I would have thought it'd been better if once they got to high school, they kind of had more of a split where the other kids were straight losers and accepted that and went to the Hellfire Club, and Lucas more straight away. And he had to trust his friends and didn't know Eddie. I thought that might have been a little bit stronger, but I still like the panic around Eddie, because that's referencing kind of a real thing from the 80s. When you're going back to the 80s, incorporating those elements into this intriguing story, I thought that was a good choice and good for our characters' development, to be starting to become adults, go your own way, but to know your friends, to trust them, to go defend them and stuff. I like those elements. I thought that was good storytelling.
I wasn't so like, I thought Lucas was like underutilized for a majority, like until like maybe the last few episodes, until he really reconnected with the group. I felt like he was underused again, and I was afraid he was going to be suffering the same fate, but they brought it around okay. I would do it. Since you brought up Eddie, though, I want to say, like, as far as new characters go, definitely my favorite new character of this season, and maybe my favorite additional character of the whole series. I thought he was fucking great, and I think that the way they dead. Yeah, well, no, I think that's fine though. That's what one and done is the way to go, man. I just don't need. I don't need him to be like brought back to life and all this stuff. Even like they were a little like. Max is still alive. Max isn't going anywhere. Yeah. But Eddie is, and he got the most badass, most appropriate death for his character. It was great.
I didn't like Eddie's send-off specifically because it didn't help anybody. He chose to not run, which was like a character arc set up throughout the entirety of the season. But him choosing to go back into the Upside Down and distract the bats like really didn't help anybody, and they all died like a second after he did.
Okay, I mean, yes, to some extent that last part is true, but I liked that he didn't know that. Like, to me, it was like, from a narrative perspective, I see what you're saying, but from a character arc perspective, it all made perfect sense. He was maintaining the distraction and not allowing those things to enter the real world by drawing them away from that hole.
If one had gotten into the trailer and kind of gotten into where Dustin was, and it threatened Dustin and it threatened the world, that certainly would have made
That's what I was worried about.
At least we would have gotten to his head of like, no, not Dustin or not the world.
It
can't
really
let this happen.
It really felt like he just was tired of retreating and not actually sacrificing himself to help another person. It felt more about him just being tired of like running away, I guess.
I mean, that was definitely part of it. I mean, that was his whole arc, and to me, it's like whether or not they, I don't know. Go ahead.
His sacrifice didn't seem to really like affect much of anything.
To me, it was a heroic end to a character that ultimately was heroic, and the idea that he is still loathed in the community and stuff like that. I love that. I know that's hard to like stomach as somebody who loves the character, but that is the ultimate curse of being who he was, and I feel like it was a strong ending for him for that reason.
So why I like it, or what it's good, is what I think most of the characters who are introduced, or if they're going to kill a character, what it should serve. And it goes back to a big problem, but this was a good element of it, is it helped in the development of the characters we should care about. You know, and the kid who does Dustin, he kills it. He does, man. The good thing about Eddie, I loved, again, the element. It made this riff between Lucas and, Dustin and Mike. And that was good. It also kind of created this little riff between Steve and Dustin. Okay. But it also just, the way that Dustin plays off looking up to this guy, his goofy little smile when he sees him do his wacky antics, that was heartfelt. And that's what a lot of this show is missing. These moments of these kids, they in the first season were so endearing and so precious to watch them go through this trial. And we have just gotten more and more away from like these kids that should be growing up, and having Dustin find his role model, who he says is the only person who is nice to him coming into high school and accepts him for being a complete loser. That's what's good about it. And that's what all of these new characters that they introduce should be servicing to. And, because even Max's story was much better this season than it ever has been. And her connection with Lucas and them growing up together was fantastic. And I'm like, why do you have to wait 2 seasons to make a character matter? Damn.
They had to give her a pathos, and it had to be more than just like the big bad also happens to be my brother.
Yeah.
And like that sort of thing. Yeah, I agree. Like she was finally utilized in a really great way, I think. And that actress got to flex some good chops, I think. I think that was pretty well done. I didn't like them bringing back Matthew Modine.
Who?
The Papa. I didn't care for that. The fact that they keep drawing him back into the fold is just,
oh my god,
annoying
also,
to me.
Something about that guy makes me want to punch him.
I will say this though, but to your point, Justin, you're talking about things that make the characters like more themselves. I don't think that like the regaining powers thing was the greatest storyline for Elle to go through, but I did like the way that ended with him trying to capture her again, basically. And then her, like, by happenstance, like him getting shot or whatever. And rather than actually forgiving him, just walking the fuck away from his dying body. I was terrified they were going to give a redemption moment to this guy who is factually a piece of shit.
Yeah.
They kind of, I mean, they
started to, and then they pulled the rug on me, and I was pleased by that.
Yeah, I mean, they give him like a long time with 11, and he's explaining himself to her. All the while, the bunker is filled with military dudes trying to find 11. I don't like where they were talking to the chopper and lose contact. Like, wouldn't they come outside and see what's going on? It bothered me that they gave him way too much time to like explain himself. She should have just immediately gotten in the van, and they should have hauled ass. But I don't know, that whole like dialogue they had felt really
that's why I was
place.
like, I mean, you're right. Like logically, that's what should have happened. But like when she walked over, I was groaning just for that exact reason. Yeah. I was like, oh my god! And now they're gonna give this guy a pass for being like the ultimate piece of shit father figure. And then they just don't. And she just goes like, he goes, please forgive me. Say you forgive me. And she's like, bye. And I was pretty pleased with that. I was like, okay, well, it doesn't make logical sense, but I'm glad we got one more like proof positive, fuck this guy moment.
Yeah. And this, to go back to the positives, this is where I'm conflicted, because there is a very good story here in Hawkins. There's very good elements in Hawkins. Everything else that takes place outside of Hawkins, I don't like and is filler, and that's a lot. California, Russia, and most of the lab elements, which again, I think go back and hurt some of the older storylines when you have, there are these a bunch of kids. That one girl, I know that it's like one of the lowest moments in the whole series of season 2 where they find this other girl, but she had completely different powers. She made like visions or something.
Oh,
like some X-Men.
You're talking about like the X-Men girls?
Yeah.
Yeah, dude. Yeah. Everybody hates that episode. I'm one of the few people that thought it was fun and enjoyed myself with that. And even like, it bothers me to no end that they were having to basically retcon whatever that was. I have no idea who those kids are supposed to be, because apparently every other child was murdered by Vecna. So who are those kids now?
Well, no, it was just one girl who led this gang of misfits, but she was number 2 or
from
something.
The lab. It was just one of
them.
them.
Just one girl, but she had
then I misremembered that.
But she had completely different powers, and in this one, all of them are just telekinetic. So I'm like, well, that kind of sucks.
Yeah,
man.
Yeah, kind of.
They just fully retcon that, and I understand logically where they're like, nobody's gonna miss this except for old Randy.
Yeah,
I mean, I just want it to make sense, and that's what I mean. And I say, like, you just can't think about the show too hard.
I just want it to make.
I just wanted it to make sense.
You need to get it for yourself, right? I just want it to make sense.
I thought
damn, these people are confusing.
There were a handful of like other really solid moments. Speaking of Eddie, like him ripping Master of Puppets to distract the bats, I thought that was
best
fucking
part.
cool.
Yeah.
Series, maybe.
Dude, running up that hill.
Dude, I know.
That
Max,
episode.
Max.
The needle drops were killer in this season. Is really what it was.
They killed it.
They were, and the original music was fantastic as well.
Yes, and the remixing with it. Yeah, they did a great job using Kate Bush and in the soundtrack, the OST.
Yeah.
So one thing I like, it really made me going back to the music, Kate Bush, when they first used it and she's actually listened to it and she's mourning Billy, but the song kind of connects to her feelings and she takes it off and it's actually integrated in the show. I was like, oh, hell yeah. That was used so good, and it kept making me think of that Fear Street from last year, where I was like, God damn, these people just do not know how to use music, and you just don't play it back to back to back to back. To say, see, here's the year we're living in. No, they used it so well, and then again to make it relevant with the Vecna thing. Now, where I was kind of irritated is when they brought it back for the big epic. Just as a background music, and I was like, oh guys, you kind of killed some of that goodwill.
I guess that didn't bother me so much. I thought it was strong still. It didn't bother me, but
I enjoyed the group of the jocks like going around trying to find Eddie, even though they're like a little bit too like pumped up, I guess. But I don't know, all of that ultimately culminating in like one of their own being killed on the lake. I thought that was a really intense scene where the kids swim out after Eddie on the boat and gets lifted up, and I thought that was a badass sequence. And then also in the end, specifically where Lucas ends up having to fist fight Jason to try and save Max, and when he steps on the damn tape player and like breaks Kate Bush, dude, that moment is like soul crushing. It's like you actually think like Max, they're gonna kill off a major character for real, and like the stakes are so high, and then they just don't do it again.
And if they weren't softy boys or whatever.
They just keep doing that shit. There's a couple sequences in this season too where like Steve gets really fucked up by the Dilobats, and you're worried for him. And then the next episode, he's just completely okay.
I never once actually feared for Steve dying.
Really?
He's too popular.
Really thought Steve I thought
he's
Steve
too popular and
to
too reliable.
I thought he was.
See, and here's the only reason I think that is because they dragged the old corpse of that fucking love triangle out of the closet and tried to revive that. If they didn't do that, then I don't know, like him being lovelorn throughout the season is not a good enough justification for having him die, like, and him being like, I guess I'll never have that. Like,
well, they do something similar with Nancy as well, where like Vecna gets a hold of her because she's tortured about what happened to Barb, and the episode ends on a cliffhanger. That's like I think that is episode 7, and then the beginning of episode 8, Vecna shows her a bunch of fucked up stuff and just says, tell 11 what you saw, and just lets her go.
Yeah.
And it's like, why the fuck?
Also, that's a really good point, Bob, because the whole plan revolves around Max putting herself up like as bait when Nancy
was already taken.
Dude, they could have done a rug pull there, but honestly, like I mean, I don't know. The thing is, like at that point, we would be filling in the gaps of that.
Like you're telekinetic. You can tell 11. You're reaching people from another dimension. What are you talking about, tell 11?
I just wish that they set up all of these like really meaningful moments, and it's very rare that they follow them completely through. And and ultimately it leaves the show feeling a little bit hollow. And they've fallen into that Walking Dead trope. I don't know. Yeah, where like they're spinning their wheels and characters are labeled untouchable, and we know that as an audience now, and it just takes the stakes of the show and demolishes them.
At least
which makes it less fun.
Killed people.
Eventually it did.
Leave Hopper dead, kill Max for real, and you've got yourself a show with stakes again. And the thing is, like, it's now being reported, at least I didn't know this until today, that season 5 will be the last season, they're saying. So that is a relief to me, because it would be so easy for them to just keep dragging this thing out every year, Walking Dead style.
It's getting obvious that some of the kids, especially the ones who have gotten bigger, like Millie Bobby Brown and Finn, like I assume that's why they gave that motherfucker nothing to do. He just doesn't seem, that character has become nothing.
His whole arc is being able to say I love you, and I don't.
Dude, oh my god. I know we're trying to do positives. And that scene where like Millie Bobby 11 is just getting her ass handed to her, and we think everybody's gonna get like fucking annihilated. And then Mike Will is like, remember, Mike, you're the heart, which is cringe as fuck.
Will is a more sympathetic character than just about anybody in this show, I'll say.
In the little bit we see him, he does well. But then Mike says like, he loves 11, and then that's all it takes, and then she just fucking blasts everybody's ass and everybody's okay. It's just like it's not enough. It's just not enough. And Will, speaking of these kids looking crazy old, Will is like 6'5" with a bowl cut.
That poor motherfucker. I read somewhere that he asked to have a different haircut, and they said no. You fucking bastards. Have a heart.
No, you're 13 and you like it.
Nope,
I don't know, man. Or 50.
I guess I will not forgive them for making that poor child wear a fucking bowl cut this late into the game.
Yeah, he didn't have a whole hell of a lot to do, and they try to like with the whole painting reveal at the end where it's their party and he's Mike is leading them with the heart on the shield or whatever. It just like felt kind of hollow, man. I don't know, like just very forced, because he had to have some moment, right? He had to have something.
You're right. But I was like really sympathetic to him, obviously being unrequitedly in love with Mike.
Mm-hmm.
And they didn't outwardly say that because I guess there's not enough political will to make that happen until next season, probably. But for whatever reason, like I was into that, where he was like, I feel disconnected. I haven't really been connected to this guy who is like, I'm clearly in love with.
Yeah.
And I don't know like how to both be good to him as a friend and also take care of myself. And also I was once taken into hell and now have a piece of hell living in my body for some reason. So I've got problems. And him and his brother having problems, for as little as they actually accomplish, their little microcosmic stories individually work okay for me. Mike's doesn't. It just doesn't work for me.
It rings kind of hollow for sure. What are the characters? How do you guys feel about Murray?
I love Murray as a character. I wish he was like I said, if I could rewrite the show to the way I described earlier, it would have taken care of all this. He would have been in 1, maybe 2 episodes, and then we would have gotten our Murray fill. I would have gotten my Brett Gelman fix. I love that guy. And we would have been on our way. We would have cut out this fucking dog shit Utah side mission. And we also would have had Joyce with her kids, reconnecting with her kids after a huge grief thing that has clearly rocked them, all of them. And allow them to reconnect, allow them to, like the way that the brothers reconnected, have the mom reconnect to them as well. They're all dealing with some shit have them become a family again.
I agree. This season made Joyce, like it took the Joyce from the first season who was doing anything to save her kid against all odds and people thinking she's fucking insane and crazy. And this is now the second season. She just abandons her kids.
I've abandoned my boy.
Like completely. It makes her like the biggest piece of shit mom. Like 100%.
I don't know. That might be a little harsh.
Dude, 2 seasons now, she has not even been in the same room as her children.
No, I mean, I understand that.
Like,
but
I mean,
she, like in this one, at least there's a mission, as ill-conceived as it is, and she doesn't know what else is going on. So she's trying to say
what it does.
I don't know.
I'm
not a big fan of how it works, but I understand her motivation.
He kills like what he's given, but then the situation and everything feels manufactured. Again, he feels like the person who's supposed to deliver the lines. Deliver the lines, Murray. Do what you do. Dance. You know, that's what it feels
dance,
like.
Murray. Dance.
That's what it feels like, because he shouldn't be there in that situation.
Yeah, I agree with everything you guys said. I don't love the Russia like storyline, but I do love watching Joyce and Murray like fumble through the situations and try and save Hopper. All that shit is extremely entertaining, and I wish that it would have resulted in something that actually affected the story, but it just doesn't. Also, like Hopper breaking his ankle and just being totally okay, and then also the sword fight with the fucking Demogorgon.
Oh my god!
I couldn't get behind it, man. I couldn't do it.
The Conan the Barbarian sword.
Also, you tease the fucking mind flayer traps, and they just totally bitch out on that. They totally, it just absorbed into the Demogorgon.
I didn't understand what they meant with particles that whole time too. I was confused.
Why did it just go inside Demogorgons? Why?
I don't know.
It doesn't make sense, man. Anyway, we just keep hovering towards the bad stuff, because here's the thing for me is like overall the show is entertaining, but the more you prod it, the way we're being forced to by virtue of doing a podcast critiquing it, the more it kind of falls apart under its own weight. And it becomes less fun that way. And I don't know. It just it's stretched beyond its means already. And they've done an okay job keeping it propped up. Like this is still an entertaining show, and that says something, but it's not a good show anymore.
Well, and that's the problem is because you could say like it's entertaining, and there is the Hawkins storyline, the teens going into the Upside Down investigating this, that's entertaining. Okay, but here's the problem. Okay, it's wrapped amongst 3 or 4 other storylines embedded in each episode that are all garbage. So when you are looking at the whole piece, then that severely hurts the very, very, very good element that was there with the horror stuff and the Scooby-Doo investigation style, and the spookiness and the friendships and everything like that. It just it's like an anchor, like drowning it. And so you have to look, when you were reviewing this, you have to look at the whole piece. And so I can say in each episode there was really good moments and really good storyline that I was following. It was that storyline, and they just wrap it in this other garbage. And that's 2/3 of this season is garbage. That's a lot.
I don't know if I agree with the exact fraction, but it's not really the point. Just another positive that we just kind of glossed over was the inclusion of Robert Englund. Even though he's only in a couple scenes, his screen time is very limited. It was great seeing him as like a very clear homage to Freddy Krueger and Nightmare on Elm Street. But the little bit that he does is fantastic, and it even has this like very clear Silence of the Lambs sort of vibe when they're asking him questions and stuff. I thought that was a really, really cool scene in the show, particularly.
Yeah, that was.
And it was like considering how Vecna operates and like the way the visual approach they took to all that, it was like a really, really nice inclusion, because they're directly referencing him already, or his primary character already.
Oh, how do you guys feel about Argyle? You love him, right?
I didn't hate him as much as other people seem to.
I don't know. I
did not think he was necessary, but just let him be. Go ahead. I'm sorry.
He's definitely not necessary, and I'm fairly indifferent overall. He's got a few jokes, and he gets them from point A to point B. But I don't know. Try before you deny, I guess.
That when they show up to that pizza joint and he's like talking to that other kid, that was so cringe to me. That was.
I was like, oh, I know.
So
to me it was, but it was like well, here comes the only value this character is going to bring.
And he sleeps with that one chick. It's like, why do we like? Why are we spending time on this?
Yeah,
why?
and even though he is not a beloved character, they are gonna bring his ass back, and he's gonna have to have some sort of dumbass arc in this new season.
I mean, a lot of the marketing shit that we're seeing now, people are talking, call this number, buy this pizza, get this box. It's like based on a character that's most people don't even like. That's how
they just couldn't
money grubbing this feels. Look at this character that no one really even cares about, who doesn't matter in any kind of real capacity, and buy shit around this. Like, whoa.
Sorry, I just got sucked back to 2001. I thought we were talking about Jar Jar Binks. Okay.
Shit.
No. Yeah, he's not fun. Or he's at best kind of fun. And the actor does a great job. His accent's perfect. I'll give him that. But yeah, like just begging for a purpose, that character.
I feel like he was a slight Die Hard nod, but Argyle being the driver of the crew, basically, is the limo driver and Die Hard. I don't know, man. His character's all right, but the reported budget of this season was somewhere between like $250 and $270 million. So obviously they're trying to recoup that as fast as they can. Like, that's an insane amount of money for just a season of a television show.
It's so unnecessary too.
Yeah,
just cut Russia. You'll save a quarter of that.
I don't think they utilize that money well.
It's about time to land the plane. Is there any one final thing you guys think we should touch on that we have skipped over so far?
No.
No. All right. Well,
we've said everything.
Well, I don't know. We could go on and on. I know. Let's go ahead and rate this thing. Out of 5, let's go ahead and let Juice kick us off. How do you feel about Stranger Things 4?
It's bloated. Unfortunately, it's like way too bloated. And when I finished this finale, I was irritated. I was quite irritated because it feels money grubbing. It feels like pandering a lot of the time, which is unfortunate, because let me do say that through the main watch, before I got to the crazy ending or whatever, I was surprised and entertained through a good amount of it. I wish to God that this had been the story of Hawkins. I wish they had followed that. And maybe too, as a worse kind of B plot storyline, but that still would have been okay, is the 11 stuff. If you had the main Hawkins story where, Robin is replaced by Jonathan and Erica is replaced by Will, and these main characters are there and these extra characters that have been added over the seasons are not there, that works. It doesn't make Joyce a terrible mom, and 11 can go still do her thing, and that makes it concise, and then that makes it a very, very, very good season, because that's the element that has all the horror stuff in it that is good. The house is good. The panic around Eddie and the others and them going into high school and separating, that's good. Lucas, supporting Max and Max going through the struggle of grief, that's all so good. And the way that these kids are killed and making these portals and brings it back to the upside down, and you get to explore a little bit more of the upside down and the bats, that's all good. Unfortunately, that's not what they did. And in between those really good moments, I have to go to like rock bottom moments of kids driving around in a van over and over again. Russia, like constantly interrupting the good. It's like I can't even get my momentum going before they want to like undercut it. And that's so frustrating. So I do want to state that there is such a good story here that's just bogged down by people who are just crumbling under their own weight of how big this has gotten, how big these actors are starting to get, schedules and stuff like that. They're not working well under that pressure. And that's unfortunate because they did have a core of a good story. Overall, with that in mind, I'm gonna give this this is on like a Stranger Things scale, but I'm gonna give it a 3.5. The horror elements and the characters I love, Dustin had great moments, Lucas had great moments, Steve had great moments, going back to the upside down stuff, that was good, but everything else, it just kind of shits on the good, and I'm like so bummed about that. But yeah, 3.5 for me. Bob, Stranger Things 4, how do you feel?
Yeah, the first 7 episodes, or the volume 1 of this season,
yeah,
it definitely had some inconsistencies and some things that bothered me, but overall I was very entertained with it, and I was along for the ride and enjoying myself. And then I got the last 2 episodes, and it felt like all of those inconsistencies and like smaller issues that I was noticing were just sort of amplified. And ultimately, like I would roll with the punches if they really stuck the landing and justified these plot conveniences and sort of like glossing over some plot holes and just general inconsistencies. But they don't land they don't stick the landing at all, really. It was just like so underwhelming to me, the way they have like these 3 different main storylines, and everybody's trying to get back to Hawkins and they just can't do it. And then all of a sudden they're like, well, we can just fight from exactly where we are, and we've been wasting all of this time and energy trying to get back to Hawkins. We never needed to do that, but we all just realized that right now at this exact moment in time. And then it turns out that like 11 saves the day, and like nobody else really needed to do much of anything other than give her a little bit of a pep talk. It just feels like everybody's trying to do so much to help the situation. And at the end of the day, none of it fucking mattered at all, really. I mean, we just needed 11 to get her powers back and to have some confidence, and that was about it. I love seeing Hopper. I mean, he's a great character, and he does have this monologue when he's in prison where he talks a little bit more about losing his daughter and why that was, and it was a very heartfelt moment. And I was like, damn, they're like actually building Hopper's character out more. I was like, maybe they are keeping him around for something at the end of the season, or that's just really gonna like justify bringing him back. And then we get the sword fight, and it's just nothing. They go back to the prison that he spends the whole season trying to get out of. It's just like kind of nonsense. I love the inclusion of the Satanic Panic. That shit is like fucking spot on. Having Eddie as the dungeon master, and him rocking fucking master of puppets. I love all that shit. That's fantastic. It sucks to have sort of fully realize that like, nah, the stakes are just too low, and we're gonna backtrack as much as we feel like, just because we have to keep the story going. It's fun though. If you just want to watch some popcorn bullshit and not really think too much about it, it is definitely fun. It is certainly way the fuck too long though. I think I'll grade this, like Justin said, on a bit of a curved Stranger Things scale, and come in with a 3.5 as well. Randy, how do you feel about Stranger Things 4?
Jeez, well, I think this is a fun season. It might be my second favorite season. That might be recency bias talking. We'll see in time. But I loved that they added the horror elements into this. Like after season 3, which is still like very much heartfelt hatred towards that season, because you want to talk about feeling manufactured. I was feeling that in season 3 way more. It felt way manufactured to have like these fucking like mall montages and shit. It's just like that was pandering as fuck to me. And this season doesn't do that as much, but it panders at least to things that I am interested in, like Freddy Krueger and shit like that. Like it adds all these elements that ultimately I could have done without any of these extra seasons. But if we're gonna do this, I was happy to see some of that stuff, but not all. And yeah, I agree. Like, I think that of all the subplots, Russia is the one that is so easy to excise and so easy to prevent it from undercutting the previous seasons, to just remove it. That seems like an just an unshakable mistake to me. Like, there's just no reason for that to have happened. Even if they give Hopper something incredible to do in this next season, I just watched hours of him in this fucking snowy tundra, like defying the laws of physics, finding swords, walking around, running around on a fucking ripped Achilles tendon. Like, what the fuck are we doing? Like, he's doing sword play with an Achilles tendon that's shot to shit. He doesn't even limp. I don't know, man. There's shit like this that just bothers the fuck out of me. And the thing is, like, the show is such that I want to say, like, it is just fun. You don't have to think about it too hard. I want to agree with that, Bob. I really do, because I had the most fun when I wasn't thinking too hard. But the show invites you to and requires you to understand its internal logic to some extent. So it invites you to think about it. And then once you accept that invitation, then you just get to live in the shortcomings of that. And you have like this Russia side plot, all I've already covered, but also like the California subplot, which had its moments for me. I think maybe people are more harsh on that than I am. And I still hate it. Like, I still think it was a missed opportunity for our characters that I actually care about, in lieu of getting a bunch of Argyle jokes about pot. Like, I don't give a fuck about pot jokes. If you want Jonathan to be a pothead, and let him be a pothead. We don't need Argyle to drive that shit home. I don't know. We just need him to drive all over the fucking country in a minivan, a work van. And then the Nina thing, like, you guys are like, oh, well, we could keep the stuff with Elle. And I'm like, I'm tired as fuck of seeing Elle in that goddamn stormtrooper onesie, fucking in a tank, having problems and nosebleeds. I'm just tired of it. It doesn't, like, it's the same. It's just the same. And like, it doesn't recapture anything for me. I understand how it weaves into the plot, but I also don't like that, because to me, it's like I said earlier, it's like too closely resembling like the path of the hero or whatever, like all this shit where like it has to be her. Now she's like the chosen one, and she's also the person who created the big bad guy that caused all of this and created the Upside Down. She's intrinsically tied to everything in the fucking show on a ground level. And to me, that packs way less of a wallop than just a scared little girl with powers who's been abused for a while and has to get over it, and has to get like create her own way and be protected by these people that care about her now. The found family aspect of the first season is just kind of lost for me. And it feels like so many people are spinning their wheels. So many characters are spinning their wheels. I don't know. To me, I could complain about it all day. But I want to like drive it home that I did enjoy this show. I did enjoy the season. I just feel like for what it is trying to bridge a gap that is just not working for me entirely, which is the gap between being a fun popcorn pastiche of the 80s and being a serious sci-fi that you have to understand and like take like mental notes about and remember what pieces are in play and all this shit. It just like, I want to see this show where it's just like, make it dumber, and I would have had a better time. Honestly, make it dumber. Either make it smarter or make it dumber. I just don't think it's quite bridging that gap for me. I can't enjoy it fully on either of those two bases. So for me, and I'm surprised that I'm the lowest here, I'm going to give it a 3. And I'm not skewing it on Stranger Things, because I've done that before and I regret giving the high score I gave the season 2. So yeah, I don't even remember what I gave season 3, but I know I gave season 2 a pretty good pass.
Dude, I listened back to season 2. So it's me, Cesar, you, Rob, Mikey was on, and we were all like flying high on that shit. And I'll tell you, I've always kept that season. Like these days, people are like, oh, season 2, fuck season 2. I've always kept that in my mind of like, season 2 was good. What the fuck? And I was listening back. Cesar gave it a 5. Like, damn, we loved it. Like, it was good. And I still remember it that way. So I hate that people now.
To me,
like,
the only thing I remember I remember feeling like the additional characters, Max and Billy, were a little much. I remember thinking, and then really besides that, the only thing I truly, honest to God, remember happening in that season, well, besides the X-Men episode, is the fucking Halloween duo or trio of episodes. That aesthetic, I fucking love that, and I think that carried my score a lot.
Dude, and
and I'm just not going to allow myself to do that in this
Bob,
one.
the character of Bob. Yeah, I mean, I think people often cite season 2 as being a low point because it feels a little bit like a retread a bit of the first season. But I don't know. I've not personally heard people say like, "Oh, fuck it, it's terrible." Or
I've had a lot of people say it's the worst, and I think it has a lot to do with people hating the X-Men episode.
Just clarifying. Yeah, probably so. But with Randy's 3, that's going to put our aggregate at a 3.3. Let's go ahead and jump into our Rotten Tomatoes segment, see what the critics and users think about Stranger Things 4.
Certified.
All right, boys and girls, this is the Rotten Tomatoes segment in which I'm going to have these two gentlemen guess within the best of their abilities what the critic and user aggregate scores are on RottenTomatoes.com. So we're going to start here with our critic rating. Our critic rating is comprised of 161 aggregated ratings. So I'm going to start with Bob, I believe, today. And Bob, where do you think that the aggregate score falls? What percentage are positive of those 161?
I feel like we're on the low side of this here. I think I've seen almost exclusively like rave reviews for this, like people saying it's their favorite season. It's fucking incredible.
Mm-hmm.
Like, I think we're definitely probably more harsh on it than most. So I'm going to go pretty high. I'm going to go with a 90.
90. Okay. Juice, how about you?
I mostly agree because I see even in our own Slack, but 90 is such a high. I don't. But it is love. People love the shit out of this. People are buying pizzas and fuck. I mean, goddamn.
People pizzas and fuck.
You don't have to try hard to sell people pizzas.
Well, that's a good point. They're really pushing that pineapple prerogative, but I agree that I think it is going to be high. I think 90 is a scotch too high, so I'll take $1 down and 89 it.
Ooh.
Just to be safe.
All right. Well, I got news for you guys. There is a ring-a-ding-ding right here in this room right now. Juice, you could have talked yourself out of it, but you just took away the ring-a-ding. It's 89%.
Oh,
89%.
$1 down, ring-a-ding.
That's some bullshit right there. That's that bullshit.
Thanks for setting me up, Bob. Ooh, you set me up, I'll knock him down, my guy.
Fucking pineapple prerogative over here.
Oh, man.
Son of a bitch.
Yep. At 89% certified fresh, 161 reviews. All right, Juice, since you're riding high right now, why don't we jump it over to the audience score and let you take a crack at that? It's 2,240 user ratings.
Okay.
So keep that in mind. What do you think the aggregate positive is?
This is tough because normally I would think with such a high critic score like that the users would have to be lower. And I still kind of feel like that, but I feel like the users are what's really pushing Stranger Things along. Like, people go nuts for this show. Fucking nuts in the butts. But I mean, 89. I'll drop it like a scotch. And say 85.
Okay, 85. Bob, how about you? Where are you at with it?
I'm going to $1 up with an 86. Project style.
Project.
Ooh,
Never let me
style.
down.
All right. Well, no ring-a-ding this time, but the $1 approach is just going to be the new standard, I guess. Bob, you're going to take this one 89% again.
89 double down? Oh my God.
Here, boys.
The daily double.
The daily double.
Super rare. I don't know if I've ever seen the same score back to back.
Unless it's like one review each or something. You know?
If we ever review a movie that's got the double 69s, that's the end of the show.
Oh my God.
Yeah, we gotta cancel.
We gotta get the double ringy ding.
We're gonna go into hiding.
Double 69. What if that happens?
Gonna go live a hermit shack in the woods if that
we'll
happens.
open a portal to the upside down.
Would explode.
So here's the critics' consensus. Darker and denser than its predecessor, Stranger Things' fourth chapter sets the stage for the show's final season in typically binge-worthy fashion. So
All right.
there you go.
While you're looking at some other, look for a negative, Randy. I'm gonna look though and see how this 89 is very high. I'm curious how it compares to the other ones.
Yeah.
So
I mean, I know that I regret my scores for all but the first one. I'm pretty sure, because like I feel like even with the third one, which I really didn't enjoy and really have not great memories of, at least it was like unique or whatever. But still, like even that, I feel like I was overly kind to, on the basis that I really like the property in general.
Now, one thing I will say, I'm so glad that this property exists. And as somebody was saying, you know, my 11-year-old kid's watching this and they're having a blast. And I'm so happy for that. And one of the reasons I love season 1 and 2, this franchise has become such a great entry horror for young kids. And I still believe that. Like, don't let me sway you from loving your, you know, Stranger Things, because you know, it's in a way, a lot of ways, it is still kind of made for kids. If you're 11, like the age 10 or 11 when the first season came out, and you're now around, you know, 17, 18, and this has gotten you into horror, like, that's wonderful, you know?
Yeah.
So I am,
you might have just found out who Robert Englund was. Like, I don't know.
Yeah,
Kids
probably.
Yeah,
maybe. I'll tell you, I mean, okay, so I do want to, like, I didn't mention this in my review, but I do want to again mention that, like, the fucking Eddie like playing Metallica, like the thing is, like, this show still has, like, it excels in moments, like in its biggest moments, it's always a rush, usually a rush, and its smaller moments it flounders quite a bit, but in its big moments, its culminations, you can't tell me that fucking pan shot of Eddie on top of the trailer rocking Metallica with a bunch of fucking bats and red lightning around him isn't the most badass thing you've ever seen, put into a pretty reasonable context, considering it's like somebody took a Meatloaf album cover and just fucking made a pretty decent, like, show around it. For, like, I love that sort of shit. So it's got great moments. It just doesn't stick the landing with the movement of the pieces, I would say.
So on the Rotten Tomatoes scale, okay, even though 89 is still super high, season 1 was 97, season 2 94, season 3 89, season 4 89. So it's still like the low, I mean, tied with 3, but I mean, it's still,
that's critics or users?
That's overall, so probably critics. I'd have to say it just gives me
I think they give you critics usually.
Season 1 was 96 from the users. Season 2 was 90 from the users. Season 3 was 86. So from the users, season 3 has the lowest with an 86.
That's
but even still, season 1 and 2 are.
I still like this season, but like, I gave this a 3. It's still a better season than 2 or 3 to me. So address my previous scores as such. So here are some negative reviews. I'm going to start with a negative critic review because I thought it was kind of good. The whole experience felt like being forced to eat every menu item from the Cheesecake Factory over the course of a day. Lots of deliciousness, some things you never wanted, and the whole experience leaving you feeling nothing but bloated. That's pretty on point to me.
That's good.
That's Alan Sepinwall from Rolling Stone. And then here's a user review. This show is horrible. It has one okay season, and people that claim it's still of any value are most likely brain damaged. Half star.
Damn.
Pretty fucking harsh, guy.
Brutal.
Yeah. And then there was one other. Hold on, let me find this one because this was great too. I tolerated SU cliche once again appeared in TV shows. I don't know what that's referencing. I tolerated biased views on Zinbao Island. I don't know what that is either. But propaganda on Hawaiian fucking pizza is tasty. What the fuck is wrong with you, you piece of shit?
Wow.
Dude, Hawaiian pizza is tasty. I never got people's knock on it.
I don't eat pork, but like I'll eat like like jalapeno and and I think that works. It's not what I want every time.
Oh yeah.
But
yeah.
I'm down with it for sure.
People are like too fucking diehards a Christmas movie about that whole thing. Who gives a shit? Like,
try before you deny.
Anyway, that's our Rotten Tomatoes segment. overly long, but there it is.
We're not doing trivia just because it's all the trivia is lumped in from all 4 seasons, and I was like, nah, dog, I'm not gonna try and cherry pick. Let's talk about our cooter of the week.
Straight chillin'. Cooter of the week.
Juice, what's a cooter and why do we hunt them?
Cooter is a character type and a straight chillin' exclusive. Cooter must hit 3 of these 5 points to be considered a cooter, and we want the cooter with the most points. The 5 points of cooterdom are sexual deviance, manipulation, smug arrogance, overall look and attire, and overall patheticness. Boys, do we have a cooter in Stranger Things?
No, we don't have Billy to rely on this season.
I know. Oh, motherfucker,
shame.
Billy, literally.
I have 2 people in mind, and I'm gonna, if I may, I'm gonna start with the less likely of the 2, just purely based on screen time.
Okay.
And it might be cumulative over the seasons too. I fucking hate Mike's dad. Like, he is the most like useless fucking character in the show.
Did he get any screen time this season?
He got like 4 lines.
Oh,
and they were all like purely designed to make everyone hate him, and it worked. It worked really well.
He's so apathetic and like at best apathetic, at worst just like extremely snarky to these like teenagers.
Dude,
oh yeah,
the
when
fucking
they
hell
opens
up.
Right, yeah.
Hell opens up in this fucking small town, and his reaction is to watch TV and be like, well, the pundits are at it again. It's like, God damn.
So
will nothing shake you?
So what you're saying is that Mike's mom should have banged Billy, is what you're saying.
No, well, one cooter for another. No, thank you. Maybe she has terrible taste in men.
Apparently she has terrible taste in men.
Yeah. Anyway, but yeah, I don't have a lot of like strong points on the guy besides just being like a loathsome little worm throughout the whole series.
Yeah.
Nobody even gives a shit about him. Nobody gives a shit about him. Not his wife, not his kids.
What about that basketball player? What's his name? Jason.
Jason.
He was my second choice.
Okay.
Yes.
So Jason Voorhees. Let's talk about him.
He's smug as
fuck. He's smug. I would say he's pathetic. He sees his friend fly into the air and twist about, and he like still won't give anyone the benefit of the doubt. Like,
he's just a rage guy. Like, that's his whole thing. Is like he's thinly veiled rage, entitlement, and like it's pathetic to me how little he knows his girlfriend, to the point where she's like going through some shit. He's like, oh, she would have come to me. Yeah. It's like, well, maybe you suck. Like, maybe that's the problem.
Yeah. He's manipulative too. He's like trying to manipulate the entire town into like going out on a witch hunt.
Into a froth.
This fucking teenager who's just trying to roll some dice, you know?
Yeah.
Fucking future senator of America. I don't know, man. He
hit Erica at one point.
I don't remember.
They like his lackey does.
Okay, I was gonna say, if you beat up on a little girl, god damn.
Like his lackey does on his command, and he does intimidate the fuck out of Nancy at that gun store.
Oh yeah,
that's true. And he also crashes a band practice and beats the shit out of like the other crew members.
Yeah, that's right.
D&D squad. Yeah. I think he gets everything but attire. He's just dressed like a jock. I don't know.
Yeah.
It's true. Like too obvious. Like the thing is, like his character's a little obvious, and it's so unceremonious how he gets fucking ripped in half by the fucking upside down.
Yeah.
I was like,
that's kind
man,
of
that guy his purpose is served. The writer just said, nope, you're not coming back.
Yeah.
That is good shit. So I mean, he definitely hits pretty damn high.
Man, nobody beats Billy though. He was such a great cooter.
He is a king cooter.
I think we could. The only other, well, I don't know. There's like
you want to talk about Vecna?
Yeah, we don't need to hit them all, but Vecna definitely stands out.
Yeah,
manipulation is high.
Yeah, smug arrogance through the roof.
He kills a bunch of kids.
Yeah, which I would say is pathetic.
Pathetic. He's jealous of children.
Yeah. His attire eventually looks pretty gross.
He has no skin.
Yeah.
He becomes a vine boy.
Yeah. He's just slimy vines.
I'm a slimy vine. I'm all intestine.
I don't think anybody's gonna hit the sexual deviance here. That's really just the other four. Yeah, there's not really any of that I can think of.
I don't
Maybe
think so
Argyle.
either.
What did you say?
Maybe
Argyle.
Oh,
the only one who gets laid around.
He does bang some Mormon in Utah for some reason.
Honestly, Argyle's living right. He's just rolling fat.
Argyle's all right. I'm just joking.
Yeah, he just talked a girl into the back of a van in like 15 minutes. Damn, Argyle.
Try before
Argyle's big dick swinging. Apparently,
I think Argyle's stock is raising for me the more we talk about him.
Try before you deny.
I will say that fucking another pretty solid musical cue was in his van. I was bumping that track for a while. The past. Hell yeah. That's a banger.
There's another needle drop. It was actually the introduction of Eddie. They do a needle drop with I Was a Teenage Werewolf by the Cramps, which chef's kiss. It was great.
Yeah.
Good job. I don't know. I think Vecna hits 4 out of 5. Jason hits 4 out of 5. I mean, those are.
We can share a cell.
Oh, Papa. We could have talked about Papa.
Papa.
Yeah. Fuck Papa.
He's a motherfucker.
He is somehow at least as manipulative as Vecna.
Yeah.
No sexual deviancy, of course. Smug arrogance. Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
I have to do this for you, 11. I have to. It's what I have to do. Whoa.
I hate how he talks. And it's always the same. His inflection, he's monotone as fuck. Like, dude, say it differently.
Dude makes Paul Reiser seem manly as fuck.
Yeah.
Like,
makes him seem like a goddamn bodybuilder.
The Duffers need to give that fucker some notes, man. God damn.
Matthew Modine, I mean, he's a well-known actor, and I don't know, man. Like, he's meant to be kind of this Weasley little guy, and he does a good job at it. He's just also hateable. Like, I don't know.
I don't know. Yeah, I mean, I think he's gonna hit all 4 as well. Like, well, his
looking attire, he's dapper.
His attire's fine. Yeah, he's dressed fine.
He's a good looking dress there.
Yeah. Ooh, got a lot of cooters.
Yeah, I think Jason and Vecna are gonna be taking the cake. It's gotta be.
But
you're gonna be bunkmates.
You still can't beat Billy though.
No,
he's my fave.
Nope. Billy's in solitary for life. Yeah. These two are just bunkmates in the old cooter prison.
Yeah,
the cooter gulag.
All right, we got him. Lock him up. Throw away the key. Gentlemen, let's let our hair down, kick back, and relax. Talk about what we've been watching this week.
Hey gang, what you been watching?
Randu, what you been watching?
Quite a bit. I took a few plane rides this week, so I had a little bit of time to watch some stuff. Juice? Oh, okay.
There he is.
All right. So I watched a few episodes of the show Catching Killers, which I believe one or both of you have brought up before. Couple episodes on the Happy Face Killer and then one on the Green River Killer. It's a pretty okay show. It's not as comprehensive as I would like because, I know I've complained about how long true crime can be. So I guess it is a little nice to have a shorter one, but I also feel like I don't get the full story this way. So I'm at odds with myself on that, but I enjoyed it. I watched some of the show Vox Explained. I watched the episode on dogs, which melted my fucking heart. It's very lovable. You should check that one out. Watched one on music and one on the future of oil and energy. Those are all very interesting, but the dogs one, that was fun. I watched a newer, I guess, Adult Swim infomercial short called The Suplex Duplex Complex, which is a fucking batshit bananas little like vignette supposedly made by the Landlords Association of America or something, where all the people renting this duplex are professional wrestlers and they're acting like professional wrestlers at all times and breaking shit. And it all culminates with like a Super Bowl shuffle, like fucking rap at the end where they're rapping about how much they love their landlords. And the landlords are these little Weasley guys that are rapping with them. It's very funny. Suffice it to say, it's just very funny. It's worth the like 15 minutes or whatever to my mind anyway. I also finally got Everything Everywhere All at Once on Blu-ray. It's great, still great, still a great movie. I played the original Pokemon Snap on the Switch, which was a nice throwback for me. I'm very nostalgic for that particular title. And then I also finally got to play Portal, and I'm midway through Portal
First
2,
time?
which I've always wanted to play them, and I've never had a platform to play them on besides my computer, which I'm just terrible at, physically cannot adapt to it. So I got to play it. They came out on Switch as a bundle. I got them both. I'm halfway through Portal 2, and they're fucking great. They're as good as I always thought they would be.
They have a cool little horror element too.
Yeah, the second one in particular, I really thought the first one is kind of like a short one, and it's like
sure, yeah.
I don't think it was ever. It's really like an expanded mechanic that they just kind of wanted to make a little game around, and it's incredible for that.
Yeah.
But the second one they really fleshed out, and I was got to what I thought was the end of the game, and I was like, oh, this one's short too. And then now I'm realizing I looked it up, and it's like 3 times that long. So I'm excited to finish it up and get it going. But I love puzzlers. I love fucking funny writing and shit, and I love atmospheric elements. So it's really perfect for me.
Yeah,
I love
that. Good series.
Mm-hmm. So there you go. That's it for me.
Okay, that's a video game I've actually played and can also agree.
Really? I know you played Portal.
Very, very rare. Long time ago too. It's been a minute.
Really rare.
With Craver back in the day.
How did I know that? I somehow knew that.
I didn't
Makes
know that.
sense, right? Juice, what you been watching?
I did some classics for the holiday, Independence Day, which God, it's up there for me. I've got like a top 5 list of, man, I wish we would cover these movies. I think Independence Day is up there with Casper. Casper's up there as well. Twister, Hips Don't Lie. I got a few I really wish we would cover. Nightmare Before Christmas. So I watched Independence Day. So much fun, such a fun movie, and just a good idea of where they go pretty chill on the CGI and stuff. It still holds up really well, I think. It's got some cool horror elements, some fun action moments. It's a lot of fun. I really like Independence Day. Watched Jaws again and listened to our episode on Jaws, and that was a really good episode. And of course, fantastic movie. I have been continuing to watch Umbrella Academy season 3. I am almost done. I think I got 1 or 2 episodes left, and that's good as well. I still enjoy that. And I watched a new film. Bobby posted an article from Bloody Disgusting, which talked about the top 10 horror movies of 2022 so far, which that list was kind of surprising me, because I was like, there's a ton of stuff on here I've never even heard of. And some of the choices were questionable. One, The Sadness was on there, and You Won't Be Alone was not on there. So I was like, okay, I need to be a little skeptical of this. There was another movie on there, though, that I hadn't even heard of, so I checked it out. But then I was thinking maybe one of the boys mentioned this, because as I was watching it, it was kind of ringing some bells maybe. But it's called Watcher. Did any of y'all mention that?
I just did on the last episode.
Okay. As I was watching, I was like, wait a second. I think maybe somebody did mention this. Okay, so did you watch it? You did watch it.
Yeah, I saw it.
Okay, yeah, I watched it as well. And it was interesting. Yeah, it was solid. Yeah. Did you like it?
Yeah. I liked it a lot. It's nothing crazy. It's fairly straightforward, and I think it wears its influences directly on its sleeve.
Yeah.
So it's not going to blow your mind, but I think for what it is, it's incredibly well crafted, and I think Micah Monroe does a fantastic job at essentially carrying the whole movie on her shoulders.
Yeah,
I liked it.
It's got a cool element of like a female perspective too that you don't get. I don't know. I thought it was developed.
Well, you know something about that.
Yeah, that's why it really resonates.
You always bring the.
Yeah,
it resonates with you as the resident expert in female opinions.
Yeah. So I did watch that. And yeah, definitely a solid entry for 2022 horror. And I was in honor of our boy Jack. I was going back and playing some Borderlands, the pre-sequel, which I don't think you played that one, Randy. It's the one set in space. No. But I always played that. Me, the twins, and Craver always played that one. And that one, I went back to that one because it's very atmospheric. So you're in space, and a lot of the color and like set designs and stuff, they have like these old retro propaganda posters, but they're set in space. So almost kind of think of like Starship Troopers, but they use these beautiful like space blues and purples and stuff. So it's just really the music's really spacey and atmospheric. So I don't know, I was just kind of in that mood. So I was playing that one, and it's definitely kind of like, compared to Borderlands 2, it doesn't quite live up, but it's still good. You know, it's used all the same mechanics and stuff, and I like the atmosphere. So been rocking that a little bit. But yeah, that's all I've been watching and doing. Bo Bear, what have you been watching this week?
Spring break forever.
Spring break.
No, it's spooky season.
True.
I know you've been watching that because you brought that bump to the table.
No, I have not been watching that. But I did want to include that because, you know, each of the 4 seasons of Stranger Things incorporate like a specific season, and this was the spring season, is why I had Spring Break forever on the mind.
That's true, I guess.
I guess.
Spring break.
How they don't really hammer up right. Christmas season. They end a season on Christmas, but they never really spend a lot of time there.
I mean,
but
yeah,
winter,
first season is winter and into Christmas, and
okay.
Second is fall, third is summer, and then this is spring.
All right.
Yeah. So I mean, I've been watching some classics for 4th of July. Of course, rewatched Jaws. It's fucking all timer. It's amazing. Listen to our episode on it. Sandlot, of course, another really solid 4th of July movie. A lot of fun. I watched like half of Independence Day and then fell asleep. So I have seen it before, obviously. And it what I saw held up quite a bit. The main thing I want to mention though is something that I really didn't know hardly anything about. It's a Hulu show. It's 1 season. It's a newer show. Well, I guess I should say it's an FX show. It's on Hulu. But it's called The Bear. 1 season. It's got 8 episodes. And it's about this guy he's like a top tier chef. He's literally a chef in the best restaurant in the world. And he's from Chicago, and his family has a family operated restaurant in Chicago, and his brother owns and operates it. And he passes away and leaves the restaurant to our main character. And he goes home, he quits his job at the best restaurant in the world, goes home to run this mom and pop shop. And it's just like in disrepair. It's all fucked up, and he's trying to make it run successfully as he's also uncovering more and more about his family's history and what his brother was up to and stuff. It's got some smaller roles that Joel McHale is in one of them. John Bernthal is in one of them. And Maddie Matheson, which, do you guys know who that is? The YouTuber guy. He's like a YouTube personality, but also like he has like a whole line of products. He's like super well known, or I guess in some circles anyways. He's like he's got several cooking shows on YouTube. And he's from Canada, I believe. And he's a big dude, and his personality is even bigger, and he's covered in tattoos. And like the way he presents himself is just sort of like an average Joe kind of guy, but he actually does know what he's doing. If you're interested in like cooking shows, I recommend checking him out on YouTube. He's funny as fuck, actually. But there's a bunch of like characters that just pop up throughout this show. And the main guy, I don't know this actor's name. I never really see him in anything before, but he fucking crushes it. It's a drama. It's got some comedy in it, but it's really mostly a straight ahead drama. I fucking loved it. I really, really enjoy it. I recommend it. It's called The Bear. It's on Hulu.
All right.
I think that guy was in Shameless, even though I haven't watched that. Really? I'm pretty sure I recognized him from like seeing promos or whatever of that.
If it's an FX show, it might be on my Disney Plus here in Korea, because they worked in a bunch of that stuff.
Check it out.
From Fox. Yeah, I'm about to look it up. Okay.
Check
Bear.
it out. The Bear. That's really all.
He's a big old bear.
He's big, he's brown, he's a big bear. Let's get into our last little segment here. It is, of course, our Hotline Screams.
Hotline Screams.
Big Bear. He's iron tough. He's Big Bear. If you guys want to call in and leave us a voicemail to be featured on next week's show, hit us up at 904-638-3231. We've got 2 voicemails this week. First up, we are going to hear from Putin himself.
Oh.
Mr. Poot.
This is Supreme Leader Vladimir Putin calling from Moscow. I just got done listening to the Threads episode. The fuck, guys? How dare you try to put Russia in the Guta jail? Guess who's going to go to literal jail if they ever show their faces in Russia again? Goddamn right, I'm canceling my Patreon subscription. You guys really broke my heart today. Unbelievable.
Guys, I think that was Arnold Schwarzenegger.
Rootin' tootin' My boy,
definitely spot on Russian accent there. I love that he assumes that we've been to Russia before. It says if we ever come again.
He doesn't assume. The KGB knows.
Yeah, you're right. As we've seen on Stranger Things, they're always listening.
Mm-hmm. Well, we're sorry to lose you, Pooty, but we're not sorry to lose you, Pooty.
Rudy Poo Candy Ass. That's what we call him.
That's his last name, right?
Take that, KGB. Candy Ass. It's a Russian surname.
Rudy Poot. I can't with this. This is cracking me up. Rudy Poot.
Thanks for calling, I guess. I don't really know.
Yeah. Call again next week, Rudy.
Such a butch. Rudy Poot.
Rudy Poot. Our boy.
That's just how we speak here at Straight Chillin'.
Yeah. Good luck ever understanding us. It's so the KGB can't track us down.
We call Josh
speaking code.
Jake Gyllenhaal. You just have to know.
Vladimir Putin, Rudy Poot. Rudy Poot.
You just gotta understand what we're talking about. Last but not least, we're gonna hear from our boy Donnie Darko. Let's see what he has to say.
Whoa.
Hi, trying to reach the Straight Chillin' podcast. This is Donnie Darko calling, frequent listener, few-time caller, and on and off patron. Regardless, just listened to the episode on the baby, and was kind of disappointed. Thought you guys were way off on that one. Really, really enjoyed that movie. See, I listen to you guys in a way that, if it's a movie I don't know, I wait until I get the chance to watch it and then catch up with episodes. So I can be kind of behind sometimes if it's one I'm, up with or I've seen recently. I listen right away. Sometimes I can't even find some of them. But the point is that finally caught up with this one. Really enjoyed it. Watched the Joe Bob version, which was much more, just added a lot of insight and interesting facts about the actors and the making of the movie. But I just thought you guys were off on this one, and that's okay, obviously. But the point being that I thought it was all about the fact that these guys or women, they hated men. Obviously, this woman had some terrible husbands and passed that on to her daughters and just wanted to abuse the heck. And this guy was not mentally disabled in any way, shape, or form. They just kept him down from the time he was a baby. And I thought that was just a horrifying concept. And I thought the twist at the end was great. I thought that the acting was amazing. The music, the party scene, come on, that's a party you want to be at. Like, I don't know, everything about this thing I just thought was just really good. And I forget on Letterboxd, I gave it like a 9 out of 10. But anyway, just want to congratulate you guys also. Just there's only 4 or 5 casts that I listen to horror-wise, and you're one of them. Consistent, great coverage of movies, go in depth. I have my own little podcast, and I've gotten a whole 2 episodes, average about 1 a year. And, it's just hard to find the time and be able to just make it happen. Big found footage fan, so I try to cover that genre. But anyway, just wanted to chime in because usually I've been on base with at least one of you guys, if not all. And on this one, I was just like, oh man, you guys kind of missed the boat on that one. But, again, that's fine. Happens with me quite often. So, but if you ever get a chance, catch the Joe Bob version of it, and it kind of, I think, does a really good job of breaking it down even more, because it helped me enjoy the film and even raised it another notch for me after I had it at about a 7 or 8, went up to about a 9 out of 10 on that. So, all right. Anyway, gentlemen, I'm kind of up to date with you guys at this point, and there's still some back ones I'm trying to catch that I haven't seen yet, but for the most part, keep up the good work.
Bob, did you see the Joe Bob coverage of Baby?
No, I haven't yet. I do want to watch it. And Joe Bob is good at sort of like taking a movie that you might not love otherwise and sort of shedding some light on it.
He can shine a turd, that guy.
He really can. Yeah. And you know, if I were to watch it with Joe Bob, I probably would enjoy it more. I mean, I definitely wouldn't enjoy it any less. That's for sure. Not a huge fan of the Baby. I feel like we definitely touched on these women, like definitely disliking men. I mean, they say it like pretty plainly. I don't think like we left that out of our review that I recall anyways. I think like whether or not the Baby has some sort of like mental issue, or if he's handicapped, or if he's just like beat the shit out of by these women is definitely debatable. They don't state that whatsoever. So I mean, he's like a 30-year-old that can't say a word.
Yeah,
I don't know, man. Like people learn how to
you could make the argument either way. I feel pretty confident you could argue, because to me it was like, I don't remember that movie too well at this point.
Yeah,
but I do remember feeling like, you know, he had moments where he could have easily just, you know, not acquiesced or whatever. Well, even if he did, like, I also understand that like when you're abused from a very young age, that's a whole different thing that can fuck with you and your ability to cope, maybe just to submit. And that's I understand that.
Yeah,
I feel like it's still pretty debatable though. The way that guy performed that role made me feel like it was an adult capable of scheming that was just not doing that, like not helping himself. And I think that speaks to a mental illness as well, maybe. But
I think it just made me super uncomfortable too, watching a grown man crawling around with a diaper. Is,
I don't know,
turn some people on, but not me.
It sure does.
You big baby. Ooh.
I've always been
no
a
kink
creeper.
No kink shaming.
Oh
yes, but
so,
you know,
yeah,
like
I don't want to revisit
some people love
that movie. I don't like it. Also,
Yeah,
I just don't like that era in general, so it's just not my style.
I do appreciate that we're one of your listens though.
Yeah, do appreciate that. Thanks for the recognition that this shit, I know we make it look easy, you know. I know we just crank this shit out.
We make it look easy because the product is substandard, but we work really hard at that substandard product. Damn it,
we make this look good. You know,
big old bear.
You big old bear, big bear. I'll definitely go back and check out the Joe Bob interstitials at least for that movie. And I don't know, like I'm definitely not against that era. I mean, it's the 70s. There's a shitload of classic horror movies in the 70s, but I don't know, that specific vibe of the like psychosexual sort of thriller is, I think we've, you know, covered it extensively, I should say, on the show.
Exclusively.
I don't think any of us love that necessarily, that subgenre, but I don't know. Yeah, I'll go back and check it out, man. Maybe we missed.
I do like a good Uncle Leo movie, though.
A good Uncle Leo movie, don't we all? Don't we all? Yeah. Thanks for calling, Johnny Darko. It is definitely good to hear from you, man. Hope you're doing well. Gentlemen, do you have any prompts you want to throw out for next week's show?
How mad are you at us for railing on this show for 2 hours?
What are you doing?
It's just so much easier and more engaging to talk about flaws. Sorry. Yeah, what are you doing for spooky season? Anybody kicking it off?
Yeah, are you jumping right into the autumn stuff, or you gotta temper yourself a little bit?
I gotta ease into it myself. Yeah, I think some people do legit go right into like Halloween themed movies and stuff.
I definitely hold some stuff back, like Over the Garden Wall, until the weather changes. But there's some. So a good recommendation. I was listening to our old Beetlejuice episode, and that one was a good kind of ease in, because it's shot a lot with a lot of good sunshine, and it's not a particular season, but then it's got some great spooky vibes inside of it and stuff like that. So I was like, oh yeah, Beetlejuice is Beetlemang. That's a good one to kind of get into
Beetlemang
for the season.
Beetlemang.
Can't believe nobody called in and gave us a movie turned horror, like we asked last week.
Oh yeah, somebody posted Forgetting Sarah Marshall, which is funny because I had thought of that like during the week too. I was like, oh, I gotta mention that. Somebody posted that. I was like, that's a good call.
That was so really good so good. Yeah, I would love that shit.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, well, call in and let us know how you're kicking off your spooky season. Are you gonna go full into it? Or are you gonna ease yourself into it? And with what? What are you watching? Hit us up at 904-638-3231. Speaking of what we're going to be watching this week, we're going to be back with a brand new show. As always, we're going to be tackling the first Patreon pick of the third quarter of the year, which is going to be Godzilla from 1998.
Oh, this is your moment.
Speaking of the baby,
that's me.
Man.
This is your time, Bob. Your favorite Godzilla. We've covered quite a bit of Godzilla films at this point. A lot of kaiju movies.
It's my time.
It's all been leading up to the Matthew Broderick opus.
It's my time.
Yeah.
Back to the senses, isn't it, my friend?
What happens when you infuse Godzilla with Batman?
What happens when you mix Jimmy Page and Sean P. Diddy Combs?
You get the banger of the century, is what you get.
This
one was chosen by Brandon. Shouts out to Brandon. Thanks for supporting us on Patreon and picking a flick. Slam Godzilla 98 into your eyeballs.
Also slam the soundtrack into your ear holes because we will be discussing it as well.
It's got some good shit on it. It does.
No.
I think. I do have that compact disc. Anyway, well, we'll save that next week. Until next week, please rate, review, and subscribe to us on iTunes. You can hit us up on Twitter at str8_chilling, on Instagram at Straight Chilling Podcast. You can actually no longer send us an email through the website, right, Randy? Is that correct?
No, yeah, because it's exclusively spammers that get us that way. So please,
every day.
Yeah, so
contact us through Instagram.
Also, I mean, you can send us an email just at straightchillingpodcast@gmail.com.
Yeah, that's
true.
If you want to, if you want to join us on our daily Slack channel conversations, just hit us up on one of those social media outlets, and I'll send you a link so you can do so. And until next week, as always, all you mother truckers, please keep chilling.
Yeah, that's not creepy.